What's up, YouTube? Third Impact here, coming at you with the 7th day of anime. We're like well past the halfway point here, and we just keep chugging along. So, due to holidays and holiday schedules and things like that, I'm going to be trying to record a ton of videos right now here in this sitting. So, if you see the same wardrobe and all that for a couple videos, it was just because I filmed them all in a row. Anyways, so for day 7, I want to talk to you guys about the always hilarious, always manly, always action-packed Jojo's Bizarre Adventure. Now, I'm not 100% caught up on this series, and I've only just recently been indoctrinated into the world of Jojo, but it's really an amazing series that I suggest all of you check out. So, for one, Stardust Crusaders is being animated starting in April of next year. That was just announced somewhat recently. And we've also been treated to some concept art and some character designs, as well as some of the voice actors involved. So there's a lot of hype around Stardust Crusaders coming out in April. And this is just coming off of the hype of Battle Tendency and Phantom Blood, which were just animated at the end of last year and early this year, which were really good. That's what kind of got me into the world of Jojo's Bizarre Adventure. And then after that, I've read part 3 and part 4 of the manga. So, coming off of part 1 and part 2, like, you can kind of see how the author's storytelling progresses. And in part 2, they're traveling all around the world, going to all these different crazy places, fighting the Pillar Men. And then in part 3, I'd say it becomes more linear, and it still deals with that same, like, traveling sort of adventure story, except it deals more with a larger party of people, and it is in a more linear, sort of concentrated area. It all takes place for the most part in Egypt. So instead of traveling all around the world, they're traveling across Egypt, which is really cool. And at the end of part 3, we're treated to part 4, Diamond is Unbreakable, which is one that I'm actually enjoying more than part 3 so far. It gets way more crazy, and it really breaks away from the linearity, and there seems to be like a plot that's going on, but it really just seems like it's just kind of happening in the background. And because of that plot, I'll say it now, there was this old woman during part 3, and they reintroduce her as being like not in part 4, but they mention her and this bow and arrow, and they use this to create stand users. Now I'll get into that in a second too. But pretty much somebody in Duang, which gets referenced all the time, it's really funny, in Japan has this bow and arrow and is creating stand users. And the plot's just basically that stand users are being created and then they're drawn to each other. That's all that's really happening, but because of that, just interesting scenarios and situations are created, and then it's just the main characters dealing with those. There's a bit of a murder mystery aspect to it too that's kind of cool, but it really breaks up the linearity with all these just different crazy characters, good guys and bad guys, and people all in between. They mix, Araki, the author-artist for this series, really mixes it up starting in part 3, because he keeps Ripple Energy, which was a main thing in parts 1 and 2, but it was more important because of the stone masks and its association with defeating vampires. But now we've kind of stepped away from that for the most part, and instead we're treated to stand users, which kind of have like a persona, if any of you know what that is, or not like persona like the literary term, but like Persona, like the video game series. They have like a little humanoid, for the most part, companion that has a special ability. And at first I was very apprehensive to this whole stand ability. I really liked the idea of Ripple Energy and all the different creative ways that it could be used, but he really did use it in so many ways that I'm sure he couldn't have kept it going the way that it's been going. And it was definitely a good choice, because with the stands, there's just such crazy powers and scenarios. Like there's a stand powers are eventually given to like a rat who can shoot a bullet that like turns you into this like melted guy, and there's like a mangaka who can open you up and read you like a book and like read through your whole like life's story. There's really crazy, overpowered ones that just shoot like bombs that follow you forever and explode. But then there's also like weird ones that let you like live in a ghost inside of pictures, and this one guy right now is kind of like a villain. He's flying around like in a picture with the bow and arrow, and he kind of pops out of the picture and stabs people and makes stand user and flies away. Like, it's really living up to the name of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure at this point. Like, it's always been a bizarre adventure, but at this point it's just complete craziness, and every ability is just so weird. And another crazy thing about JoJo that I really enjoy is the humor. Like, it has me constantly laughing out loud about it. It's extremely quotable, and because of how ridiculous all the powers and situations are and the dialogue that's involved with them, lots of times it's definitely intentional humor, but it's more made funny through the situation itself and how serious things are, but how ridiculous and crazy they are at the same time. And that creates this really funny sort of like mix between those two things. And even though there might not be like an outright joke in what's happening, the situation itself creates this sort of humor, and the dialogue, the faces that he draws and the lines that he has them yelling like super seriously and dramatically sometimes are just so damn funny. It's just great. I really love JoJo's Bizarre Adventure because of how long it's been going on for, how much it looks like the different stories evolve, and how different each part is. And even though it's like a shonen series, I almost feel as though it really straddles the line between shonen and seinen, because it has that really adventure-y sort of aspect, and it's not too dark, but at the same time it has some very mature themes and aspects to it that really kind of, I feel, push it above just your average shonen sort of series. But that's it for part 7 of the 12 Days of Anime, pre-JoJo hype for part 4. Part 3, sorry, Stardust Crusaders, and then I'm currently reading part 4, so I'm also just really hyped about that right now, and I might be doing some manga or chapter reviews for that too in the near future, so keep your eye out for that, and I will see you soon for another video.